Everybody to Realtor TV. I'm Mike Ortiz, and this is Tuesday, June 21st. Hope you guys all had a great Father's Day, and we're going to jump right into it because you know what the talk is out there. Market, inflation, everything is inflation, right? Well, I'm going to let sellers know how inflation actually positively, affects home prices. So you want to get to the end. I'm going to let you guys know exactly why you guys should not be worried about selling. This is the exact opposite. I think we see things rocket again for about another month or two. So get in while you can. First, what we're going to talk about is the fact that my PowerPoint's not working. All right, let's do this. Okay. First, what we're going to talk about are the types of inflation. There are two types of inflation that economists talk about: cost push or demand pull. And you can see it written down here. Basically, cost push is a decrease in supply stemming from increase of production costs. Now, you might be quick to just go ahead and say that that's the kind of inflation we're in. But no, if you look at the next one, you're going to see it's much more likely to be this one. So demand pull inflation, it's an increase in demand. And we have had nothing but an increase in demand across the board. The market, home goods, construction supply, and housing, and cars. Cars are doing pretty bad right now too, right? And what happens is this increased demand causes, funny enough, it causes the supply of goods and services to cost more, obviously, because of the higher demand. We also have some other factors involved with shipping problems, truckers going on strikes, things like that. But for the most part, we are in a demand pull inflation scenario due to the increased demand going way back to the coronavirus, right? So let's talk about what's happening because of this inflation and why it's causing the negative sentiment that some people are feeling like, well, maybe things are slowing down for sellers when they really aren't. I can promise you that. Things are slower, but they're nowhere near levels pre-pandemic. So the demand surge from the pandemic buying hits an all-time high this March and April, 2022. And then it seemed to slow in May. But what you have to understand is, by slowing, we mean it went from here to here. Let me put that there. When pre-pandemic levels were here, and that's not an exaggeration. And they're starting to rise up. If you look at the charts, they're starting to actually come back up. And those supply side cost problems, they're still causing slowdowns in the new construction. So unless you wake up one day and you see new constructions everywhere, we're still going to have an inventory problem no matter what goes on with the rest of the market, right? And the stock market is approaching, a small, almost COVID level pullback. And that's causing people to say, well, if the stock market's doing this, the housing market's going to do this. They don't show much correlation right now. Things are going this way for housing right now, very very lightly, and stock market the other way. But they do not have direct correlation. Let's get that really clear. The housing market's going to do what it wants to do, just like it did what it wanted to do back in COVID. And we'll talk about that right here too. Okay, so why home prices are going to continue to soar? It's because 100% inventory is still low, and it's going to remain low for a while. New construction permits were down from April to May across the country, especially the Southwest. And COVID rates, those rates that they got, because what we're talking about is the Fed has to increase rates because of these things are going on. So we say if we got to increase rates, buyers are going to be more scared to buy and take out loans. But you have to realize COVID rates were just exceptionally low. They were incredibly not real, not in reality low, and they were like that to help with the recovery. But what we're getting to right now is just normalized levels. Um, Rates before pre-COVID were somewhere at 6, 7, 8. Fluctuating there. And I will show you. Let me switch screens here. Okay. Actually, that's my Spotify. Sorry. Last week, when the Fed raised the rate, what was it? 0.75. We shot up to a 6.4 something for the 30-year fixed. As of today, that's already shot back down to 5.23 because despite the little bit of justling it does to the market, it's going to level back out because the rates just aren't that high in relative terms. And it's just not enough to scare buyers. They still want to buy houses. And this means sellers, you guys got to be ready to be there for those when those buyers come out, okay? And let's go back to here. What else do we got here? You could read that. And when we did this is how it was in March and April. We were seeing 10 to 20 offers. You're going to see 3 to 7, maybe 10 offers, but that's still a lot of offers relative to what it would have been before, right? And maybe you have 8 to 10 showings instead of 25 to 30 up here, right? So you're still getting an incredible amount of exposure, incredible amount of interest right now. It's just when you compare it to April and May. When you compare it to February, March, and into April, yeah. It's just not as exaggerated. And as I put here, but so what? It's still enough to sell a house for a lot of money right now, and prices are still up there, and bidding wars are still happening, all right? So in summary, thank you for joining you guys every week. Before we get into this summary, please subscribe. I'm enjoying doing these. I'm enjoying the feedback, and I'm enjoying having the followers. It makes me feel like a Kardashian. But in summary, negative sentiment is valid for overall inflation, but it doesn't directly hit the housing market in the same way it hits the other things, goods, supplies, groceries, things like that. This demand type inflation, it is going to continue to sustain high prices. Demand is still there. And this is the big one, right? Those rates are still not that high, not high enough to really slow demand too much. As you can see we went 6.4 something last week. We're already down to a 5.23. That's the level we were at before the big announcement of the big rate hike. We might continue to go down now, right? And what else we got? Oh, and it will not look like March, April. We went through that a couple times.